Greetings ladies and gentlemen, my name is GRM Adrian and I welcome you back to the channel for another new player MMO review. Welcome to 10 Reasons to Play Albion Online. This of course was decided by you, my dear subscribers. It's the first non-theme park MMO I've reviewed, and over the past 5 weeks I've been going through Albion Online with you folks on my leveling streams, which you can watch in a playlist that I put together, links above and below. Now let's talk about Albion Online. Albion Online is the brainchild of developer Sandbox Interactive, and the game is currently in its final closed beta before the launch in July. But players can jump in right now by purchasing one of 3 Founders Packs. Just keep in mind that all progress will be wiped at the end of closed beta. So what is Albion Online? It's an open-world sandbox game that takes place in a medieval fantasy setting where crafting and PvP is king, with a full loot system upon death and isometric ARPG combat mechanics. The game is true cross-platform, so you can play it on your PC or tablet or even on your mobile phone in the future. I think it's fair to say this early in the video that this game is a niche. Therefore, before I begin listing my reasons, it's important to ask yourself these questions if you're interested. What do you want to achieve in a sandbox game? Do you enjoy or avoid PvP? Do you like the social aspect of MMOs, or are you a solo player? And what activities in MMOs do you enjoy the most and enjoy the least? Knowing these things about yourself will be the best barometer for you to determine if Albion Online is worth the money to check out, and my reasons to play are based on players that are interested in this sandbox niche. So with that out of the way, here are my top 10 reasons to check out Albion Online. Number 10. Simplistic gameplay. For casual and hardcore players, soloers and groupers, I believe you'll find that jumping into Albion Online will be an easy and enjoyable experience despite whatever you might have heard. This game does have a steep learning curve and we'll get to that later on, but as a whole the game does keep things simple where it needs to be simple. For starters, the graphics and gameplay. The graphics are some of the most basic art and visuals you will ever see for an MMO, and that may turn some of you off. There's a lot to be desired in terms of character creation options, animations, and textures. If you're used to the grand visuals of modern theme park MMORPGs, this could be an eyesore. I said so in my first stream too, that it looks cheap, like a game that's definitely made for other platforms. But play it long enough and you won't think of it often, if not at all, because of how deep many of the game systems are. In fact, the simplistic visuals help smoothen the gameplay greatly, being able to fit so many players online at once on one mega server. That also means that download time will be fast and installation space compact. Other important aspects of gameplay such as movement and combat is also simplistic and is really easy to learn. If you've ever played games like Ultima Online, Diablo, Path of Exile, and Torchlight, then you're good to go. Skills are fully remappable, so you can either play with a mouse and keyboard combo or just use your mouse, which is what I do. I've even seen guides right here on YouTube of players using controllers if that's your thing. When it comes to the combat system, you'll find a very decent ARPG style hack and slasher with a limited set of skills with individual cooldowns. The animations are not the best and sometimes can feel repetitive, but I give props to the combat, especially in dungeons where mob and boss mechanics are incredibly tricky, making it really fun to play. Number 9. Classless System. Now that I've covered a bit about the combat, how does one go about acquiring skills? Well, those come in the form of gear and equipment that you wear. There are no classes in Albion Online, which is cool. Players are able to craft anything and wear anything provided they meet the requirements to wear them based on the tiers. The game has 3 armor categories, being light, medium, and heavy, and each piece has its own set of skills and you decide which ones make it onto your skill bar. Therefore, you can absolutely make a hybrid character with a light hit piece, medium armor, and heavy boots, wielding a holy staff for heals on one hand and a shield on the other. I love that it's very customizable, allowing players the freedom to play in whatever style they prefer to suit the situation. Number 8. Open progression. You've probably heard me mention tiers and requirements earlier, and that simply means that to wear better gear, you'll need to put the effort in to unlock them first. That's down to the very open progression Albion Online has in the form of the Destiny board. The Destiny board is a huge character progression well that tracks your progress in a multitude of categories: crafting professions, the ability to craft tools and use them, resource refinement, and weapons and armor proficiency, just to name a few. All players start out at tier 1 and must work their way up and branch out into the various different nodes. To do this, players earn fame. Fame is Albion Online's interpretation of the experience point, and players earn fame by simply doing activities out in the world. If you want to progress from a tier 2 to a tier 3 lumber harvester, for example, you need to manually go out into the world and chop down trees. Once you hit the fame requirement for tier 3 lumber, you are now able to gather tier 3 wood. What's interesting is that if you're not proficient enough to use tier 3 harvesting tools, then you won't be able to gather tier 3 resources. Most of the progression nodes work in tandem this way, requiring players to pay close attention attention to the destiny board and identify which professions requires progress in another to reap the full benefits. This system, at least in my experience, feels organic enough that you realize your character is growing in the world with every activity you decide to do. The same is also true for combat and gear. If you want to be a proficient mage caster, then simply put on the relevant gear and go kill stuff to earn fame. The fame will go into progressing the nodes of the equipment you're wearing, ensuring that you'll increase them to the next tier on top of unlocking masteries that gives your gear better bonuses. What I love about this is that if you decide that your current build isn't working, there's no need to re-roll, simply put on some new gear and start earning fame without losing the progress you've already made for your previous build. Overall, I like Albion Online's open progression system because it's allowed me the freedom to pursue professions that are appealing to me without restriction. Number 7. Deep Crafting System. Albion Online is a crafter's dream come true. Every single piece of gear, equipment, and mount is manually crafted by players in this game. Because of how PvP utilizes a full loot system, which means you lose everything on you when you die in the PvP zones, crafting becomes paramount in this game as a result. There are 5 distinct resources to harvest in Albion Online, being wood, stone, ore, hides, and cotton. These must be refined at the appropriate crafting stations in order to make gear. The higher tiers will require players to venture out deeper beyond the starter areas, which are the blue and green zones. The yellow, red, and black zones will be home to the rarer and higher tier resources, so the more risks you take, the better the rewards. It's not just gear that requires crafting, however. Farming, cooking, and animal breeding are also part of the crafting system, and players can cook food and raise animals for slaughter or breed horses and ox for mounts. This creates a tight ecosystem for crafting because what you craft matters. As mentioned earlier, players die all the time, so there is a demand for a lot of the goods that you make, and player-owned buildings and guild territories will require food to run too. What I really enjoy about the crafting in Albion Online is how the game has localized player-driven economies. Every city has its own marketplace, population, and economy, so no one player or guild can dominate the entire game marketplace. Therefore, solo players can still compete in the economy, and those who take the risk to travel far and wide to sell their goods can find profit by selling rarer items in more rural areas within the game. It's a pretty realistic feature that doesn't stifle the marketplace for the individual crafter. Number 6. Polished product. Over the 5 weeks that I've been playing Albion Online for this review, one positive takeaway for me is that the game is incredibly polished at this stage, a couple of months away from release. I've not encountered any bugs and glitches during my playthroughs, which is great. And to catch anything that I've not experienced personally, the game does go down daily for an hour of routine maintenance, which is pretty fair, I reckon, to keep the game running smoothly 24/7. And speaking of polish, I just want to point out that the game has an incredible soundtrack. It's absolutely awesome and is some of the best music I've heard in any MMO. The music is made by a full orchestra ensemble and is one of the high points in Albion Online, which will be incredibly dull and empty without it. If anything, I think the game has too many periods of just silent ambient sounds, and more of the music should be played in the background to give the game life. Number 5. PvE and PvP. When it comes to PvE, I'm sure there's no need to tell you, but just in case, there are no quests and no main story. The PvE in Albion Online largely involves progression on your destiny board through activities I've already covered, such as crafting, economy, and housing. However, in the Galahad update, the devs included solo and group PvE instance dungeons, which is a pretty significant content addition, especially for the solo player who doesn't have the time to group up with their guildies for adventures in faraway zones. PvE expeditions can be done daily for silver rewards that you can jump in for 45 minutes a day. All in all, the PvE here is made up of what you, the player, like doing and what you want to achieve in the long run. As for PvP, well, it's where Albion Online shines. PvP takes place in yellow, red, and black zones, and players must flag for PvP in order to attack others. A lot of the endgame, which are the tiers from 4 and up, will involve PvP as players venture out to these designated PvP zones to gather rare resources and take on Hellgate dungeons, and are bound to come across other players who could be neutral or flagged for PvP with an eye to kill steal the boss and take your stuff. Group PvP is perhaps the most popular activity among the guilds in Albion Online, as there is a lot at stake. Guilds can take part in guild versus guild for territory, and there are many benefits for doing so, including dominating resources and important routes into major cities. This creates a compelling opportunity for player-driven narratives involving guild rivalries, which is really the allure of any sandbox game. Large PvP here is all about the numbers, so needless to say, the bigger the guild, the better your chances. So when it comes to doing things in this game, what Albion Online specializes in is giving you the choice of doing whatever you want that's fun for you, as a solo player or as a group. Number 4. Player Community. Elitist a-holes and griefing d-bags exist, but they are a minority compared to the overall community that's actually very friendly. Since it's a shared mega server, the global chat is highly active and there's a dedicated help channel that is constantly available to help answer your most noobish questions. The game doesn't do any hand-holding, and because of the steep initial learning curve, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, and that's why the community is so great at helping newer players. Throughout my time playing, I've not encountered anyone who wasn't willing to help answer my questions, and from time to time the game mods do drop in chat to help players along. Number 3. Social Focus. And as a follow-up to my previous point, it's that solid foundation of a helpful community that encourages a strong social focus among players within Albion Online. There are several core systems in place that help facilitate this, of course, like the huge part that guilds have to play in this game. There's a dedicated guild finder tool that I really like and wish more MMOs used, as it makes finding a guild that suits you extremely easy without the hassle of scrolling through chat or putting yourself out there spamming for a guild to take you in. Of course, you will find a few funky ones, but that's what sandbox games are all about. But yeah, I can see some stats here, and then when you click on the bar, it's going to tell you exactly. Oh my goodness. Do you want to be a part of gay orgies? We are recruiting hardcore dick suckers. Everything I just said about the community, this one guild has just ruined that. But overall, the nature of the game itself requires guilds to be social. As I've mentioned previously, a lot is at stake. Therefore, expect 90% of the guilds to want you on a voice app like Discord, as coordination for grouping in PvP will be instrumental to your group's success. So if you dislike voice chat or are shy, this may be a setback for you, but it is needed if you want to be effective in group play. Number 2. Payment Model. I am a big fan of the buy-to-play model, which is what Albion Online uses. Currently, you can purchase any one of the 3 Founders Packs to gain access before launch, and I got the cheapest one for $29.95 US. I think the buy-to-play model is fair in this regard, and given how the community has turned out, it's really nice that the paywall gets rid of free-to-play issues such as bots and gold spammers that could severely impact a sandbox game such as Albion Online. Having bought the cheapest Founders Pack and seeing what the game has to offer, I will say that it's good value for money, as long as you know what you're buying into and understand that this is a niche sandbox game. There's also a premium status in Albion Online, which rewards players with a few benefits such as access to spending learning points and bonus fame accruement, which can speed up progression on the Destiny board. Players with premium status will also have access to buying your own player and guild islands, which are hugely beneficial for crafting. Premium status are rewarded for those who purchase the Founders Packs, and once that expires, players can purchase more premium status time in-game using gold, which is a premium currency, or in-game silver, which can be earned in-game. You can buy premium time in a variety of durations, such as for a day or up to 30 days. Gold, on the other hand, is also rewarded in the Founders Packs and can be bought and sold to other players for in-game silver. There is a dedicated marketplace for selling and buying gold, and the price does fluctuate. Outside of the game, gold can be bought for real money too, so if you're short on silver, buying gold from the website and selling them in-game is a viable way to make money. However, this raises the question, does this then make Albion Online pay to win? Well, it doesn't. Sure, players with deep pockets can easily buy the best gear and rarest mats, but here's the catch though. To use them or craft them, they would have to put in hours of work to progress their Destiny board nodes. So in a way, Albion Online favors the player who actually spends the time gathering and crafting to make their time selling the craftables worth it, hence resulting in a fair economy that doesn't tip the scale towards players who buy silver for real money. Number 1. Fantastic Sandbox Experience. The most appealing thing for me and many other players about Albion Online is the sandbox experience that the game offers. Here's the world as a blank canvas, here are the tools and the resources, you are the painter, now just roll with it and see what happens. If you're completely new to sandbox games, a lot of what Albion Online offers is going to seem ridiculous, inconvenient even, given the way you lose gear and money when you die in PvP areas on top of the amount of work you need to put into ascend the profession tiers. But these things are what makes sandbox games magical and are important for it to succeed. Remember when Ultima Online first came out? Or in more recent times, remember what made DayZ so popular? It's that freedom afforded to players to create their own stories in this world. Albion Online has provided a really good platform for this, with real estate for player and guild housing, plus player-run shops in major cities. Then there's the war for territories that guild versus guild takes place in, which are home to the rarest of crafting resources. All these systems in itself fuels the player-driven narrative within the world. Are you and your guildmates an outlaw gang, ganking the biggest crafting guild on the royal continent during one of their resource runs? Or are you a solo nomadic crafter, trying to build a name for yourself as the cheapest blacksmith around, moving from city to sell your goods and make a cut out of the thriving local economy? There's just so much possibility in Albion Online, and there's huge potential for it to grow bigger. For example, taking a page out of EVE Online's book. We already know that crafting is a huge factor in this game, so the inclusion of player contracts for transporting resource caravans between major cities could be a future mechanic both for player profit or for bandits to exploit. More can definitely be done to leverage the game's localized economy system. And for those reasons, I think many Sandbox players would definitely enjoy Albion Online, and I personally will keep my eye on this game to see how far it can go. As for the questions I promised to answer when I started my leveling streams, can a casual solo player have fun in Albion Online? My answer is yes. I was able to identify something that I can do at my own pace and time, which turned out to be hugely beneficial for me. I specialized in crafting early on, rushing to get my player island and start farming, and have since made a lot of profit from selling food in my major city. This offsets my need to be in a guild to farm important items like essences that I can now buy off the marketplace because of the money I make from cooking. And as a solo player, it's nice to see that the devs don't omit you from the PvE experience and have included daily solo expeditions for you to do to level up your gear without the need to group. The second question was, is Albion Online an intolerable grindfest? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yes, the grind exists, especially getting up from tier 4 onwards, but that really comes down to your playstyle and what you want to get out of this sandbox experience. You won't notice the grind much if you're constantly grouping in a very large guild where everyone specializes in various different crafting professions, ensuring that the guild and everyone in it has access to everything. For solo players, it will be impossibly long and hard to achieve higher tiers being alone all the time, which is why it's important to specialize early on and try and find a casual guild that's solo friendly with all the crafting stations you need, on top of the occasional harvesting sessions in riskier zones to progress in your own time. As for issues that I've encountered in Albion Online, there isn't many, which is why I say this is a pretty polished game that's close to release. But there's one I've encountered that I want to highlight. It's not as much an issue as it is a compromise for players hailing from my part of the world. Albion Online is a very ping dependent game, and without an oceanic server to complement the game's current mega server structure, a lot of you will encounter latency issues which can and probably will affect your gameplay. Go back to the shadow. No, you will not take me. Oh, are you kidding me? I got out of the way. I totally got out of the way. Crap, get out of the way. I'm lagging. Considering the endgame in PvP is a core aspect, if you don't use a VPN to reduce your latency, you may struggle here. And that's the unfortunate reality that you'll have to live with if you want to play Albion Online. And that wraps up my 10 reasons to play Albion Online, folks. In short, as a solo casual player who was told he would not enjoy this game, I came out of it feeling pretty good. This is a great sandbox game, and as a niche, a lot of folks who enjoy the impromptu goodness of sandbox titles will definitely find something to like here, if they can look past the oversimplified graphics and combat. But once you get past that, the world of Albion Online becomes an incredible journey as you plot your character's progression in the world and try to find an identity within it. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share, and subscribe to the channel for more MMO content. As for which MMO I'll cover next, well, it's got something to do with this. Well, this is a mousepad, we'll put that down. Maybe this one here, or let's see, this one, I think, no. This one maybe, but this one doesn't have any name on it, probably on the back here. Then there's this one too. I don't know what this is. World. This one I probably recognize, but no, this is not it. I think this should be the one that I'm looking for. Yeah, I think this is it. So this is the next MMO that I will review for top 10 reasons to play. And these aren't mine, by the way. These belong to my sister, who's not going to be happy that I raided her room to find this stuff. But yeah, expect to see this really soon. Once again, my name is GRM Adrian, and I thank you for watching. Oh, bloody hell, it's you again. Well, don't just stand there. If you want to subscribe to the channel, click the button in the middle. If you want to watch more videos, click the cards to the left or to the right. Now bugger off and go bother somebody else.